girls, let's read the first one. Lila collected the honey from 3 of her beehives. From the first hive, she collected 2/4 gallon of honey. The last 2 hives yielded 1/3 gallon each. So question A says, how many gallons of honey did Lila collect in all? Draw a diagram to support your answer. To start with, I really think, how many hives do we have? 3. Let's draw 3 tape diagrams the same size. They don't have to be very big, just over to the side here. So that's probably plenty big enough. Leave enough space in between. No, you don't have to. Okay. So on the first hive, what's my denominator?
4.
So I need 4 equal parts. What will I shade?
2.
2. And we all know that's 1/2, don't we? But we're going to, let's just go ahead and leave it 2/4 for now. Okay, on the second one, what do I have?
1/3.
So 3 equal parts. What about the last one?
3. So
1/3. No, it says the last 2 hives yielded
Oh.
1/3 gallon
Yeah.
each. So this one's 1/3. This one's 1/3. This one is 2/4. Okay, that's mostly just organizing our information there. Okay, so I know I'm going to add because it says how many gallons of honey did Lila collect in all. Is there any of that I can add ahead of time? So I don't have to have 3?
1/3 plus 1/3.
What's 1/3 plus 1/3?
2/3.
Okay, so what will our addition problem be?
2/3 plus 2/4.
Okay, so 2/4 plus 2/3, and we will draw boxes. What's your common denominator?
12.
How'd you get 12?
4 times 3.
Good. So on the first one I show fourths. Second one I show thirds. This morning in the first block, I accidentally shaded the wrong number, so be careful, check your numerator. I also noticed the other day students were drawing all the lines. So they made all 12 boxes before they shaded. Don't make that mistake. Shade before you combine the lines on your shapes. So are you to this point where you have 6 12ths plus 8 12ths?
Yes.
Okay, get to that point. What's 6 plus 8?
14.
Now, make sure you can see. So 14 12ths is improper.
So you do 12 12ths
So Cheney said we're gonna have 12 twelfths, running out of room to write, aren't I?
Yeah.
Plus 2 more twelfths, right? So that's 1 and
And 2.
I can simplify it. You can simplify that fraction. What am I going to divide by?
By 2.
By 2. Good, Lexi. Now when you do this, make sure you rewrite your whole number. What's 2 divided by 2?
1.
12 divided by 2.
6.
So 1 and 1/6. So do you notice how this question has an A and a B? And do you remember that sometimes your answer from the first question needs to be used in the second question? That's one of these, okay? So remember 1 and 1/6. After using some of the honey she collected for baking, Lila found that she had only 3/4 gallon of honey left. How much honey did she use for baking? Support your answer using a diagram, numbers, and words. Okay, so start with, you're right, it is going to be subtraction. Start with a tape diagram. Do we have a total?
Yes.
What's our total?
1/6.
1 and 1/6.
1/6.
That's our total amount of honey. Right. Okay, so on the tape diagram, here's what we know. She has 3/4 gallon left. And the question says, how much did she use? So was Abdiel correct? Are we subtracting here?
Yes.
Yes. Only problem is this is one of those difficult subtraction questions where we start with more than one whole. Okay? So first of all, rewrite or go ahead and write the problem. And then let's decompose this mixed number. So what will my fraction be that stands for one whole? 6/6. Okay? So when I draw my boxes this time, I'm going to have one of them completely shaded and show 6/6. Not having much luck drawing boxes today. Okay, so here's what it looks like. Go ahead and watch me before you do anything, okay? So 6 is my denominator, okay? So I need 5 lines on both shapes. Wait a minute. After that, put a bracket around 1 and 1/6. Okay, start with that. You're going to shade all of this one and 1/6 of the other one. I think this was lesson 7. So what's your common denominator?
No, 24.
Let's do 24. Now here's where kids get confused because we have to subtract 3/4. So do you remember I drew a little thought bubble here of what I'm going to think 3/4 looks like? I'm just going to visualize it.
Yeah.
Okay? And And you can draw that thought bubble if it helps you. But 3/4 would be right here. So on my large shape, I'll divide both of them into fourths. But on the large shape, I'm going to put a bracket around 3/4. Don't X those off just yet. So go ahead and do those steps that I just did. 3/4 is the one I'm subtracting. It's right here. So I will cross that many off. And that will be 3 rows when I get to that point. Okay, so my first numerator is actually how many are shaded blue. So this is 24, correct?
Yeah.
25, 26, 27, 28. Don't worry about any simplifying yet, okay? Now I'm subtracting. So I'm crossing off 3 out of 4 rows. And the number of X's is the numerator. Cheney, you said there's 18. Is that right? 6, 12, 18. So 28 minus 18, 10 24ths. Can we simplify that?
Yes.
Divide by 2. The reason I know I can divide by 2 and be done is because 10 divided by 2 is 5. And I can't divide that by 2, can I? What's 24 divided by 2? 12. So your answer here, she's only used 5/12 of the honey. Okay? Let's look at the next page. Okay, this is one of those two-step problems like we practiced the last couple days. With the remaining 3/4 gallon of honey, Lila decided to bake some loaves of bread and several batches of cookies for her school bake sale. The bread needed 1/6 gallon of honey and the cookies needed 1/4 gallon. How much honey was left over? So here's what I've got. Got 1/6, got 1/4, I've got left. Where do you think that 3/4 goes? What's my total?
3/4.
3/4. Isn't that how much she has? Yep. So instead of 4/4, because you remember we'll have to subtract from the whole, we've only got 3/4. So we've got some left. And then she made bread and cookies. Now who remembers if I'm going to add these together or what I'm going to do here?
You're gonna add.
Let's look back. Don't write this, but I showed you this example. How did you solve this one? 16 plus 4 is 20, and then you just knew it was 5 because you subtracted in your head
Yeah.
or added in your head, okay? So can we do the same thing here?
Yes.
Add those two together. So I'll add 1/6 plus 1/4. Don't forget to subtract from the whole. What's your common denominator?
24.
We just had that, didn't we? Make sure you're adding those together, and then we'll subtract down here, down below. Okay? So how many boxes do you need? 2. And this is just a regular addition. So the first one has sixths. The second one has fourths. So 4 plus 6 is,
10/24.
we just had that answer, didn't we? So what, do you remember what we divided by to simplify this?
2.
Now that's not your answer though, is it? Because this is a two-step problem. So now, that's just this part of it. That's bread plus cookies, okay? We still have to subtract that from the whole. Now, in my opinion, I could just change them both to 12s. That would be easier than doing 48 with boxes. What do you think? You remember how we do this numerically? So get 2 sets of parentheses and 3 sets of equal signs. What's my common denominator going to be? 12. We're just going to change them both to 12. So 3/4, rewrite it. 5/12. Well, I don't have to do anything to these, do I? Just times 1. How do I figure out what goes in the other parentheses, Jesus? Do you remember? 4 times something equals 12. So what would it be? 4 times something equals 12. Josue, 4 times what?
3.
Okay, so I'll multiply the numerator and the denominator by 3. So 9 minus 5, 4/12. Can that be simplified? Yep. I don't want to divide by 2 because I'll have to do it twice. What could I divide by?
4.
4. Good. Who said that? George? I know it wasn't Abdiel. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 12 divided by 4 is...
6.
What?
3.
3. All right, the last problem. Lila decided to make more baked goods for the bake sale. I think she's been baking all day. What do you think?
Yeah.
She used 1/8 pound less flour to make bread than to make cookies. She used 1/4 pound more flour to make cookies than to make brownies. If she used 1/2 pound of flour to make bread, how much flour did she use to make the brownies? Explain your answer using a diagram, numbers, and words. I've been forgetting the words, haven't I? If you have 4 pencils and 7 apples, how many pancakes will fit on the roof? Purple, because aliens don't wear hats. It makes no sense, does it? Just like this problem we just read. So what strategy, boys and girls, do we use to help us make a problem easier to understand? Hello, anybody out there? Well, you can either put 3 equal signs or you can draw a cake diagram. It just so happens that I'm going to do a tape diagram for bread, brownies, and cookies, and I'm going to make them all the same size. Remember when we did a problem like this last week? Okay, so make 3, leave a little space between. Okay, the first one is bread, second one is cookies, the last one is brownies. I know bread starts with BR too, but I'm just going to label them like that. Now, in order to do a problem like this that makes no sense, you have to figure out which one of these tape diagrams you have a total for. So after you draw 3 that are the same size or however many you have, okay, you need to read through your problem again, find the one you have a total for. That means it doesn't say more or less beside the fraction. So read through it quietly. Raise your hand when you figure out which one has a total. You're trying to find the total. Is the total of bread stated, cookies stated, or brownies stated? Okay, so Junior, what do you think? No, that's what the question is asking. It's hard to find. Vaughn?
Bread?
You're right. How many of you agree with Vaughn? Okay, how much flour was used for the bread?
One half.
1/2. And if you were absent Friday, this is a problem you missed. Sort of like this. Okay, so now that I know bread, I know that each of these will be 1/2 right there at the top. Okay? And so then I can add or subtract from 1/2 to figure out the rest of them. So here's the next sentence. She used 1/8 pound less flour to make bread than to make cookies. So which one is more, bread or cookies? Think about it. What? Cookies. How much more? 1/8. So I'm just going to put 1/8 right there. So to get the total for cookies, I would just add 1/2 plus 1/8, wouldn't I? Seems pretty easy to understand. I made dotted lines for a reason, okay? And you'll see why in just a minute. So then it says she used 1/4 pound more flour to make cookies than to make brownies. So cookies are the most. From cookies, look at this, it's pretty tricky. From the end of cookies, we have to subtract 1/4. Yikes. How are we going to do that? Well, let's start by getting these brownies to the end of cookies. And then figure out how to get that 1/8 turned into 1/4. That's a first for me. Yes? I don't know. I hope they're not going to, like, dent the tables. Okay, Cheney, what do you think we need to do to get 1/4? Because down here we've got to have 1/4. Well, you're getting close. She says split it in half. I don't know. Split what in half? The split the 1/4 in half. Who said that? Junior! Okay, so if I split 1/4 in half, what's half of 1/4? Does anybody know?
Half. 0.
Half of 1/4. Okay? You're right. It's 1/8. Look at this. Don't draw it, but look at this, okay? So let's just say I have 1/4 right here, okay? And I divide that in half. Is that 1/8? So I'm just going to put a dotted line right here and show 1/8. So now I need to read what my question is asking. Okay, so the question says, how much flour did she use to make the brownies? So here's what we have to figure out. Question mark. So the nice thing about this is we know that this whole tape diagram from Brownies started out as how much, Josue? How much did this whole tape diagram start out as? 1/2. So I can do 1/2, and then what do I do with this 1/8?
Split it.
No, I don't. I subtract it. So I'm going to do 1/2 minus 1/8. What's your common denominator for that?
16.
Okay, so 2 boxes again. Remember, shade before you draw all the lines. Do I need to simplify this?
Yes. No.
What will I divide by?
2.
2.